The text message came through at 2:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. I was reviewing Q4 projections when my phone buzzed with my sister Emma's name. "Can't have you at Christmas this year, Alex. Sorry. Mark's parents are coming and they're all corporate executives. Your factory job would be awkward. You understand, right?" Before I could respond, Mom's message appeared in the family group chat. "Emma's right, sweetie. Maybe next year when you've moved up? Face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy, face with tears of joy." 3 laughing emojis. That was Mom's signature move, cruelty wrapped in emoji humor. My brother David chimed in. "Honestly, Alex, it's probably for the best. Mark's dad runs a hedge fund. What would you even talk about? Assembly line quotas." I stared at my phone for a moment, then typed, "Understood." That single word carried 28 years of history. Growing up, I was the family disappointment waiting to happen. Emma was the golden child. Perfect grades, perfect internships, perfect trajectory into corporate marketing. David followed close behind with his finance degree and his entry-level position at a regional bank that he talked about like he'd founded Goldman Sachs. Then there was me. The one who chose state school over private university. The one who majored in industrial engineering instead of business. The one who, according to family legend, threw away every advantage we gave you. "Industrial engineering," Dad had said at my graduation, barely masking his disappointment. "So you'll what? Manage factory floors." "Something like that," I'd replied. What I didn't tell him was that I'd already accepted a position with Meridian Industries, not on the factory floor but in their management training program. What I didn't mention was that the CEO, James Chin, had personally recruited me after I'd presented a revolutionary efficiency model at a university conference that would save manufacturing companies millions. What I definitely didn't share was that James had looked at my work and said, "You don't think like an engineer. You think like someone who's going to run a company someday." I was 22 and I made a decision that day. I would build something extraordinary and my family wouldn't know about it until I decided they deserved to know. The first 5 years were intentional obscurity. I worked 100-hour weeks redesigning Meridian's entire production infrastructure. I traveled to factories across 3 continents. I learned everything: supply chain logistics, labor relations, materials science, automation integration, financial modeling. When family asked about work, I kept it vague. "Oh, factory stuff. Process improvements. Pretty boring." Emma would wrinkle her nose. "God, I couldn't do it. All those machines and noise and working class people. Don't you feel like you're wasting your degree?" Sometimes, I'd lie while mentally calculating the $47 million in cost savings my latest efficiency model had just generated. By year 3, I was Director of Operations. By year 5, I was VP of Strategic Development. By year 7, James Chin called me into his office with an offer that would change everything. "I'm retiring in 18 months, he said. "The board wants you as CO. I was 29 years old. "There's a condition," James continued. "We're going public. The IPO will make this a $200 million company overnight. Maybe $300 million within 2 years. You'll own 22% through stock options and performance incentives. Are you ready for that spotlight?" I thought about my family. About the laughing emojis and the condescending questions about my factory job. About being uninvited from Christmas because I'd embarrass my sister in front of her executive future in-laws. "I'm ready," I said. "But I want to control the narrative. Keep my name out of the press until after the IPO. No Forbes profiles, no media appearances. We announced the transition 6 months after we're public and the stock has stabilized." James raised an eyebrow. "That's unusual." "I have my reasons." He studied me for a moment, then nodded. "Your company, your rules. Soon anyway." The IPO happened on a Tuesday in March. Meridian Industries went public at $18 per share. By market close, we were at $31. The company was valued at $387 million. My 22% stake was worth $85 million on paper. I celebrated by eating takeout Chinese food in my home office, reviewing acquisition targets. The family group chat was active that night. Emma was planning her June wedding to Mark Stevenson, whose father Richard owned Stevenson Capital Management. The wedding budget had apparently hit $150,000. "Mark's being so generous," Emma gushed. "His parents are contributing $75,000. Can you imagine?" Mom responded, That's what happens when you marry into quality, sweetie. Not like some people who'll probably end up with a factory worker husband face with tears of joy. I didn't respond. I was too busy approving the purchase of a controlling interest in 3 suppliers that would vertically integrate our supply chain and add another $50 million to our valuation. Over the next 6 months, I transformed Meridian into an industry giant. We acquired 2 competitors, opened manufacturing facilities in 4 new countries, and pioneered automation technology that MIT would later call revolutionary. Our stock climbed to $52 per share. The company was now worth $680 million. My personal net worth crossed $149 million. Forbes called requesting an interview with our mysterious CEO. I declined. Wall Street Journal wanted a profile. I sent our PR director instead. I attended board meetings, supplier negotiations, and strategic sessions, but I stayed out of the public eye. At family dinners, the ones I was invited to, I remained Alex, who works at that factory. Still doing the factory thing? Uncle Robert asked at Thanksgiving. Still there, I confirmed, cutting my turkey. Well, at least it's steady work, he said, the way you'd compliment someone for showing up consistently to a mediocre job. In this economy, steady is good. Emma jumped in. Alex is actually really good at what she does. I mean, it's not glamorous, but someone has to manage those types of workers, right? She said it like she was defending me, completely unaware how condescending she sounded. Mark, her fiancé, sat beside her looking uncomfortable. He was a junior analyst at his father's firm, coasting on the family name. We'd been introduced 3 times and he'd never remembered meeting me before. What kind of factory? He asked politely. Manufacturing, I said vaguely. Industrial production. Very boring stuff. Oh. He lost interest immediately, turning back to discuss market trends with David, who was desperately trying to sound knowledgeable about hedge fund strategies he'd clearly just Googled. I smiled and said nothing. The text message uninviting me from Christmas came 6 weeks before the holiday. I was in the middle of finalizing our biggest acquisition yet. A $200 million purchase of Techform Industries that would make us the dominant player in automated manufacturing systems. Emma's words stung less than they might have years ago. By now, I'd built something so far beyond her comprehension that her judgment felt like a child critiquing a symphony. But Mom's laughing emojis? David's comment about assembly line quotas? Those activated something cold and strategic in me. I forwarded the message thread to my executive assistant, Sarah. Pull everything we have on Stevenson Capital Management, I wrote. Financials, client list, portfolio performance, personnel. I want to know what Mark Stevenson does there and how their firm is performing. Sarah's response came 2 hours later. It was thorough. Stevenson Capital Management was struggling. They'd made several bad bets on tech stocks and lost $40 million in the last 18 months. They were actively seeking capital infusions to stay afloat. Mark's role was junior analyst, basically a title his father gave him to justify his salary. He'd made exactly 0 successful investment recommendations in 2 years. And the kicker? They'd been trying to schedule a meeting with Meridian Industries for 4 months, hoping to pitch themselves as our investment management partner for our corporate treasury. Our CFO had been politely declining, saying our CEO would need to approve any such relationship. I smiled at my computer screen. Sarah, I wrote back, schedule that meeting with Stevenson Capital. Tell them our CEO will attend personally. December 20th, 2 p.m. Do not mention my name, just confirm the CEO will be there. Understood, she replied. Then after a pause, this is going to be fun, isn't it? Extremely, I typed. December 20th arrived with clear skies and temperatures hovering around freezing. I dressed carefully that morning. A charcoal gray suit from Armani, a silk blouse, and the Cartier watch my board had given me when we hit $500 million in valuation. My hair was pulled back in a sleek bun. I looked exactly like what I was. A CEO of a $680 million company who'd built an empire while her family thought she was checking time cards on a factory floor. The Stevenson Capital offices were downtown, in a building trying very hard to look more prestigious than it was. I arrived at 1:55 p.m. with Sarah and our CFO Robert Martinez. Conference room C, the receptionist said. They're expecting you. We walked down the hallway. Through the glass walls I could see them. Richard Stevenson, silver-haired and pompous, sitting at the head of the table. Two associates whose names I'd already forgotten. And Mark, my sister's fiancé, looking nervous and underprepared, shuffling papers he clearly hadn't read. They couldn't see me yet. The glass was one way from the hallway. "Ready?" Robert asked quietly. "Absolutely," I said. Sarah opened the door. Richard Stevenson stood immediately, his salesman smile activating. "Welcome. Thank you so much for making time to..." He stopped mid-sentence. They all did. Because they were staring at me. Mark's face went through a fascinating journey. Confusion, recognition, more confusion, then dawning horror as his eyes traveled from my face to the portfolio in Sarah's hands with "CEO briefing" embossed on the cover. "I'm sorry," Richard said slowly, his smile frozen. "There must be some mistake. We were expecting..." "The CEO of Meridian Industries," I finished calmly, extending my hand. "Alexandra Morrison. We've been corresponding through intermediaries for several months. I apologize for the delayed response. Our acquisition schedule has been quite aggressive this year." I watched Richard's face as his brain tried to process this. His eyes darted to Mark, whose face had gone completely white. "Morrison," Richard repeated. "I took my husband's name when we married 3 years ago," I explained smoothly. I'd married Daniel Morrison, Meridian's chief technology officer, in a quiet ceremony in Napa. My family hadn't been invited. They didn't even know I was married. But you might know me by my maiden name from the industry publications. Alexandra Chen. Though most people just call me Alex. The color drained from Richard's face now too. Mark made a sound like a small animal dying. "Wait," Mark croaked. "Alex? Factory Alex? You're..." "Factory Alex," I repeated, tasting the words. "Yes, I suppose that's what my family calls me. Because I work in manufacturing. Because I run this manufacturing company, actually. Because I built this $680 million manufacturing empire from the ground up over the last 8 years while apparently being too embarrassing to invite to Christmas dinner." I let that hang in the air for a moment. "Shall we sit?" I continued pleasantly, moving to the head of the table, the seat Richard had been occupying. He scrambled to move. "I have another meeting at 3:30, so let's make this efficient." Sarah placed the portfolio in front of me. Robert took the seat to my right. Mark looked like he was going to vomit. "Now then," I said, opening the portfolio to reveal Stevenson Capital's complete financial breakdown. Information they definitely hadn't provided but which I'd acquired through perfectly legal channels. "You've been attempting to position yourselves as potential investment managers for Meridian's corporate treasury. Currently valued at approximately $340 million in liquid assets. Is that correct?" Richard found his voice. "Yes, we believe we could provide exceptional..." "Your firm has lost $43 million in the last 20 months, I interrupted, reading from the report. "Your flagship fund is down 34% when the S&P is up 22%. You've had client redemptions totaling $67 million this year alone. You're currently seeking capital infusions to maintain operational liquidity." I looked up. Does that sound like a firm I should trust with $340 million? The silence was deafening. Mark's voice came out strangled. "Alex, I didn't. Emma said you worked on a factory floor. She said you were..." she said. "Embarrassing." I supplied helpfully. "Yes, I got that text. Your factory job would ruin everything." I believe those were her exact words. Followed by my mother's laughing emojis and my brother's comment about assembly line quotas. I pulled out my phone and with theatrical precision found the message thread and turned it toward Richard. "This is from 6 weeks ago. That's your future daughter-in-law, explaining why I couldn't attend Christmas dinner because my job would be too awkward around your executive family." Richard's face went from white to red. "Mark, what the hell?" "I didn't know." Mark shouted. "How was I supposed to know? He never said." "Emma said her sister worked in a factory. She made it sound like you were checking inventory or operating machines or something." "I do check inventory," I said mildly. "When I'm touring our 17 manufacturing facilities across 9 countries. And I understand machine operation intimately. I redesigned our entire automation system. That innovation alone saved us $89 million annually. It's also why MIT offered me an adjunct professorship, which I declined because running a company is rather time-consuming." I stood up, smoothing my suit. "Gentlemen, I think we're done here. Robert, please note in our files that Stevenson Capital Management is not an appropriate fit for our investment needs. Wait. Richard stood desperately. Miss Chin, Ms. Morrison, please, there's been a terrible misunderstanding. What my future daughter-in-law said, that was clearly not a misunderstanding, I corrected. It was exactly what she believed. What my entire family believes. That I'm somehow lesser because I chose manufacturing over marketing. That I'm an embarrassment because I built something real instead of pushing PowerPoints around a conference room. I turned to Mark, who looked like he wanted to disappear into the floor. You should probably call Emma. Tell her that her embarrassing factory worker sister just denied your father's firm a potential $340 million account. Tell her that the working-class people I manage include 1,200 employees across 3 continents, 47 of whom have PhDs. Tell her that the boring factory stuff I do resulted in a company valuation that makes your father's entire firm look like a lemonade stand. Please, Mark whispered. The wedding is in 6 months. Emma will kill you, I suggested. Yes, probably. But that's not really my concern, is it? After all, I won't be at the wedding. I'm too embarrassing. I walked toward the door, then paused. Oh, and Mark? One more thing. That factory you all love to mock? The one where I supposedly waste my degree? We're announcing a major acquisition next week. Techform Industries' $200 million purchase price. It will push our valuation over $900 million. The Wall Street Journal is running a profile piece on me. They've been requesting it for 18 months and I finally agreed. Forbes is doing a feature on 30 under 30 CEOs who changed their industries. I'll be on the cover. I smiled. So in about 10 days, everyone in your father's professional circle, everyone Emma has been bragging to about marrying into an executive family, will know exactly who I am. They'll know that the Stevensons tried to land Meridian as a client. And they'll know that the CEO personally declined because your firm's performance was too risky. I let that sink in. How do you think that plays at country club brunches, Mark? His face answered for him. Merry Christmas, I said and walked out. I made it to my car before my phone started exploding. The first call was from Emma. I didn't answer. The second was from Mom. Declined. The third was from David, which was interesting. He usually stayed out of family drama. I let them all go to voicemail and drove back to the office. Sarah met me at the elevator with a grin. Mark Stevenson called 4 times. Your mother called twice. Your sister has called 7 times and sent 14 text messages. Your brother left a voicemail that was mostly just him saying, "What the hell?" repeatedly. Perfect, I said. Block their numbers from my office line. Personal phone too, actually. Already done, Sarah confirmed. Also, your husband called. He saw the Stevenson meeting on your calendar and wanted to know if he should prepare bail money. I laughed. Daniel understood exactly what today had been about. Tell him I'll be home for dinner. We're celebrating. By evening, the voicemails had reached epic proportions. Emma's first message. Alex, Mark just told me the craziest story. Call me back immediately. This is insane. You're a CEO? Since when? Why didn't you tell us? Emma's 5th message. Okay, I'm reading about your company online and Alex, I don't understand. Why would you hide this? Why would you let us think you were just... Call me back. Please. Emma's 10th message. Mark's dad is furious. He says you humiliated them. He says you deliberately deceived us. Alex, the wedding is in 6 months. Mark's family is talking about calling it off. How could you do this to me? There was. Not, I'm sorry I uninvited you from Christmas. Not, I'm sorry I was ashamed of you. Just, how could you do this to me? Mom's messages followed a similar pattern. Shock, confusion, then anger that I'd made them look foolish by hiding my success. David's voicemail was different. Alex, look, I'm reading about you right now. 9 countries? $680 million? What the? Why didn't you say something? We've been treating you like... Yeah, I get it now. I get why you didn't say something. Call me back. Please. I owe you an apology. At least David was capable of basic self-reflection. I didn't call any of them back. The next morning, my executive assistant forwarded me an email that had come through our corporate contact form. It was from Richard Stevenson. Ms. Morrison, I hope we can discuss yesterday's meeting more calmly. There have clearly been family miscommunications that affected everyone's perception. I would appreciate the opportunity to. I deleted it without finishing. An hour later, Emma showed up at Meridian's headquarters. Security called my office. Ms. Morrison, there's an Emma Chin in the lobby demanding to see you. She says she's your sister. She's quite insistent. Have security escort her out, I said calmly. Add her to the banned visitors list. Understood. 20 minutes later, my personal cell phone rang from a number I didn't recognize. Against my better judgment, I answered. Alex. Finally. They threw me out of your building. Emma's voice was shrill. Security. Your security threw me out. I'm your sister. You're a person who uninvited me from Christmas because my job was embarrassing, I corrected. That's not the same as being my sister. I didn't know. You didn't know because you never asked. You assumed. You looked at my life, decided it was beneath you and treated me accordingly. For 8 years, Emma. 8 years of condescending comments and pitying looks and being excluded from family events because I didn't fit your image. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I was wrong. But Alex, you have to understand. Mark's family is furious. They're talking about calling off the wedding. His father says you made them look incompetent in front of their whole firm. You have to fix this. The audacity was breathtaking. I have to fix this? I repeated slowly. Emma, let me be crystal clear. I built a $680 million company while you and Mom and David mocked me at every family dinner. I revolutionized an entire industry while you sent laughing emojis about my factory job. I earned a spot on the Forbes 30 Under 30 list while you were too embarrassed to have me at Christmas. And now you want me to fix your relationship with your future in-laws because they're upset that I exposed their firm's poor performance. It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. You know what the worst part is, Emma? I would have told you. If you'd ever, even once, asked about my work with genuine interest instead of condescension, I would have shared everything. But you didn't want to know. You wanted to feel superior. That's not fair. Neither was being uninvited from Christmas. Neither were 8 years of being treated like the family embarrassment. So here's what's going to happen. Nothing. I'm going to do nothing. Mark can explain to his family why their firm isn't qualified to manage our investments. You can explain to your friends why your CEO's sister won't be at your wedding. And I'm going to continue running my company and living my life with people who actually value me. Alex, please. I hung up. The Forbes article came out on December 28th. The headline read, "The CEO who built a $680 million empire in secret. Alexandra Morrison's unconventional path to manufacturing dominance." The photo showed me in the main facility surrounded by advanced automation systems, looking every inch the executive I was. The article detailed my rise from management trainee to CEO, the revolutionary efficiency models I'd pioneered, and the aggressive acquisition strategy that had transformed Meridian from a mid-size manufacturer into an industry titan. There was a particularly good quote. Morrison is part of a new generation of CEOs who understand that manufacturing isn't a dying industry. It's the foundation of everything. While others chase software and finance, she's building the infrastructure that makes modern life possible. And she's doing it better than anyone else. The Wall Street Journal piece ran the next day with the headline, "The manufacturing mogul you've never heard of until now." By New Year's Eve, I'd received interview requests from Harvard Business Review, Fortune, Bloomberg, and CNBC. I accepted them all. Emma's wedding happened in June. I wasn't there, obviously. I heard through cousins, who'd started reaching out to me with suddenly friendly messages after the Forbes article, that it was nice but tense. Apparently, Mark's family attended, but the Stevensons' social standing had taken a hit when word got out that they'd lost a potential $340 million client because the managing partner's son had insulted the CEO's family. Emma and Mark moved to a smaller apartment than they'd planned. The wedding gift money from Mark's parents was apparently less than expected. Mark's father had suggested he take some time to learn the business, which was corporate speak for, "You screwed up monumentally." Mom tried to arrange a family dinner in July to clear the air. I declined. David was the only one who actually earned his way back into my life. He showed up at my office 6 months after the Stevenson meeting, properly scheduled through my assistant, and spent an hour genuinely apologizing. Not excusing, not explaining, apologizing. I was a condescending jerk, he said simply. I was so busy trying to feel important because of my entry-level bank job that I completely missed the fact that you were actually important. Actually building something. I'm ashamed of how I treated you. It wasn't perfect, but it was real. I appreciate that, I said carefully. I don't expect forgiveness, he continued. I just wanted you to know I see it now. What you built. What we missed. And I'm sorry. We have coffee sometimes now. Slowly rebuilding something that might eventually resemble a sibling relationship. 2 years later, Meridian Industries crossed $1.2 billion in valuation. My personal net worth hit $264 million. We'd expanded into 14 countries and employed over 3,000 people. MIT invited me to deliver the commencement address. The White House asked me to join an advisory committee on American manufacturing. I bought a house in Napa Valley with a view of the mountains. Daniel and I hosted dinner parties for friends from the industry, people who'd earned their seats at my table through respect and capability, not blood relation. Last Christmas, I spent the holiday in Aspen with Daniel, our CFO Robert and his family, and Sarah and her wife. We skied, drank excellent wine, and talked about the $400 million acquisition we were planning for the new year. My phone buzzed on Christmas morning. A message from Emma. Merry Christmas. I know I don't deserve a response. But I want you to know I think about that text every day. I was wrong. About everything. I hope you're having a wonderful holiday. I stared at the message for a long moment, then replied, Merry Christmas, Emma. It wasn't reconciliation. But it was acknowledgement that maybe someday there might be a path forward. Or maybe not. Either way, I'd be fine. Because I'd learned something during those 8 years of building an empire in secret. Family is about who shows up for you, who values you, who sees your worth even when you're still climbing. It's not about who shares your DNA. It's about who shares your table when you get to the top. And my table, metaphorical and literal, was full of people who'd earned their seats. Emma hadn't earned hers yet. Maybe she never would. But that was her loss, not mine. I put down my phone, looked out at the snow-covered mountains and smiled. Somewhere in another state, Mark was probably explaining to his parents why another investment opportunity had fallen through. Somewhere, Emma was probably wishing she could introduce her CEO's sister to her friends. Somewhere, Mom was probably telling people about her successful daughter, while conveniently forgetting the laughing emojis. But here in this moment, in this house I'd bought with money I'd earned building something extraordinary, I was exactly where I belonged. With people who'd never once thought my job was embarrassing. With people who understood that the best revenge isn't cruelty. It's success so complete that their opinion of you becomes irrelevant. And I'd achieved that years ago, on that December day when Mark walked into my office and saw the CEO nameplate on my desk. His screaming had been satisfying. But this life I'd built, this empire I'd created, this table full of people who actually valued me, this was victory.